Parshas Ve'era, something very nice from the Rebbe's father, Rebbe Yitzchok Zatzal. This week's Parsha, the second pasuk, it says, Ve'era, the Rebbe says, I revealed myself, El Avram, El Yitzchok, Ve'el Yaakov. Ve'el Yaakov with the extra Vov, well, not extra, but the Vov is showing that it's connected to earlier, to Avram and Yitzchok. And before Shemask, how come only by Yaakov does it add the word Ve'el? She said, El Avram, Ve'el Yitzchok, Ve'el Yaakov. How come only, and the Yitzchok, and the Yaakov? How come only by Yaakov does it use the Vov, the and, showing that's connected to and attached to the previous names? The Zohar, this week's Pasha, expounds on this, and Rabbi Yitzchok, in his explanation of the Zohar, says something fascinating, explaining the Zohar. And he says the Vov will have two explanations over here. Why only by Yaakov does it have the Vov? Number one, in the meaning of the letter, which means over here it's attached, connected to the earlier names, Avram and Yitzchok. And then also in the shape of the letter. And each one brings out a different idea and component. Number one, we know that, and by the way, this is the reason why also in Shmoneh Esrei, when we say, beginning of Shmoneh Esrei, we say, Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchok, Ve'elokei Yaakov. Also by Yaakov, we add the Vov. That's taken from this week's Parsha Ve'era. We all know what it says in Chassidus, that Avram was Midas HaChesed. He was a feeling in his heart, one of the midos, one of the emotional feelings of a person's heart, is to be kind to others, to give tzedakah and chesed. And that was Avram Avinu. His entire life, he just wanted to give and make other people happy. Yitzchok was Midas HaGvura, and that shows in many, many ways, as we'll soon explain. Yaakov, on the other hand, he was known as Tiferes. It explains in Chassidus, we also spoke many times, Tiferes means beauty. One of the reasons why Yaakov is beauty is because when you take a picture, for instance, for example, one color doesn't make something nice. But when you have two colors at least, then they work together and they blend. One color gives space for the other and they work together, then the picture comes out beautiful. So beauty shows when you have a blend, a mixture of two components. And that's exactly what Yaakov is all about. It also explains the Chassidus, for instance, take an animal. An animal lives by instinct. He also has emotion. But he's set in one type of emotion. You can't change an animal's feelings, his instinct. As the famous example from the Rambam, you can't take a cat and tell him, leave alone the mouse. No, as soon as he sees it, he runs after it, because that's an inborn instinct that's connected to him. So, in the world of emotion, which is the world of animals, a person can also be kind. He can have chesed, but he's set in that pattern. Someone who's an animal of gvura, severity, and that's also a type of emotional feeling. He's set in that type. In order to have, so Avram and Yitzchok shows that each one had one kav, one line, one way of working. This one in chesed, this one in gevura. Tiferes beauty was the blend. Yaakov showed how you could sometimes have chesed, and that's most of the time. And then also you could have gevura. So when you work together, that's when it shows beauty. And take a parent, for instance, who wants to bring up a child. Some parents give everything to their child. Chesed, love, whatever you want. That's no good. It's not a Yiddish way. God forbid also too much gevura, too much severity, everything no, and to be too harsh, also no good. So there has to be that blend, that balance between kindness and with severity. And that's Yaakov. And now you'll understand why it has that Vov. Avram has his set way. El Avram. Elokei Avram. Yitzchok had his way. El Yitzchok. Elokei Yitzchok. But Yaakov is Ve. He was connected and attached to Avram and Yitzchok. He brought into his life this blend, this balance between the Avram and Yitzchok together, and it was colorful. That's one point, brings out Rebbe Yitzchok. Comes Rebbe Yitzchok and says further, if you look in the words in the Zohar, how it fits. Vov is the only letter in the Aleph Beis on one line that goes straight, doesn't go to the sides, goes straight from top to bottom. It says in Chassidus, that shows that this way, when you have the proper, colorful way of life, a mixture and a balance between the chesed and gevurah, between kindness and severity, that reaches up very high. Called Amud Demsiisa, the middle way, reaches Oila Ad HaKeser. Ad HaKeser means that's the true way how you fulfill Hashem's will. Keser goes on Hashem's Ratzon, Hashem's will. Because only through this approach do we fulfill truly Hashem's mission. And we spoke many times, same things with Torah. Torah is not only mitzvah saseh, which symbolizes chesed, things, the positive things we do. It doesn't only have prohibitive things we don't do. It has a mixture of both. Now, the only way that you can truly make a balance between the right and the left, the chesed and the gevura, you have to have seichel. You have to have das. You have to have knowledge. When you have knowledge of Torah, Torah teaches you how to make the blend. When to have chesed, when to have gevura, and you have to be very wise for that. But that's called das. And that's why Tiferes, it says, is oila. The only way you can have a colorful approach and the right blend is if you use also your seichel. You use your mind, your das. And then das, once you have that, then you have the proper understanding when to press, so when to follow the chesed, when to follow the gevura, which emotional feeling to express at that particular time. Then, and you use your seichel, your das, to fulfill that, then you fulfill the Eibishter's will 100%. And that's why this is the explanation that explains the Rebbe Yitzchok both ways. The Vov, in the interpretation of the letter over here, means I'm connecting, I'm attaching myself, Yaakov, to my father, my grandfather, Avraham Yitzchok, because I take their emotional feelings and I bring it in together, attached, and I make the proper blend. Number two, the design of the letter also fits, because this is the way I reach all the way up from top to bottom, Hashem's true will, His pnimis ratzon, keser. How does it come out? That's when you're going to have shlimu de kulo. That's when it's going to be complete, Hashem's fulfillment. And what Hashem wanted every Jew to accomplish in this world is only when you have Tiferes. One without the other does not work. Too much on the chesed side, too much on the gevura. That's not the way Hashem wants. Hashem wants Yaakov Tiferes. And when you have that, then you have true beauty and you fulfill Hashem's ultimate will. And that's where it goes from the top to bottom to show that this reaches up high. It fulfills the pnimis ratzon, the inner will of Hashem. And that's why only by Yaakov does it say attachment, and also the tziyur, the tmuna, the shape of the letter and how it's designed brings out the point, and that's why we say in our Shemona Esrei, Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchok, Ve'elokei Yaakov, to bring out these two ideas that everyone should have Tiferes in their life, true beauty, and through that we fulfill Hashem's mission.